Hello, good morning everyone. Today I am going to present research paper called Boot Multiple Operating System from ISO Images using USB disks. Here is three main authors BC Vaya, TSN Murthy, T Vandana Babu, and I am Kasan Madhujan. Okay, we will move to the today content. This is the content today I am going to present. First one is difference between open source and commercial operating system, different types of operating system, basic idea about what is booting and types of booting, research introduction, explain boot process step by steps, current problems and proposed solution, techniques used for boot the USB disks, result, comparison, and finally conclusion of the research paper. Actually, before moving to the research paper, I will briefly explain how we categorize operating system. All of you know we can categorize operating system into two major types, open source and commercial operating system. When it comes to the open source operating system, its source code made available by the developer to study, change, modify, enhance and distribute. For example, we can take open source operating system like Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, Backtrack, Fuduntu and so on. On the other hand, commercial operating system source code that only the person, team or organization that created it can edit, inspect, change and enhance it. For example, we can take Microsoft Windows and Mac OS as leading commercial operating system owners. So you can see this image how source code development, security and cost will change in between open source and commercial operating system. When it comes to the booting types, it's mainly separated into two parts like cold or switch booting and hot or warm booting. First we look at what is cold booting. The cold booting is that in which system automatically starts when we are running the system. For example, due to light fluctuation, the system will automatically restart, so that in the chance damaging of the system are more, and the system will not be start from its initial state, so some files will be damaged because they are not properly stored into the system. So that's where the cold booting is coming. When it comes to the warm booting, the system it start from the initial state, means when we start our system, this is called as warm booting. In the warm booting, the system will be started from its beginning state, means first of all the user will press the power button, then this will read all the instruction from the ROM and the operating system will be automatically loaded into the system. That is the basic idea of warm booting. When it comes to the bootable devices, here I mentioned few devices, those are currently used to boot the operating system, such as USB drives, CD, DVD ROMs and hard drives. Okay, now I think you all have a basic idea about types of operating system and why operating system booting is necessary. So now we will move to the research paper introduction. Okay, when it comes to the research paper introduction, they have mentioned what type of operating system they have taken to boot the USB disk. So you all can see they have focused on open source operating system like Ubuntu, Fedora, Fuduntu, PL Linux and so on. Because through open source operating system they can directly access to the kernel and easily do their changes. As well as they have mentioned they use Linux as their kernel, and most of the places like educational institutes prefer to use Linux because it's non-commercial and have GNU General Public License. Also they pointed out before downloading the ISO image file of the operating system, users should know that ISO image is compatible or not to their hardware requirements of the machine, otherwise it will not work properly. Also, to boot the operating system they currently use CD, DVD or USB pen drives according to the size of the operating system they have downloaded. So you all can understand they mainly focused on Linux based operating system as their foundation. Okay, that's all. Now we will see how Linux boot process it works. First, user click on power button and it will switch on the power supply of the machine. Once power supply is on, then it's verify the post. Post means power on self test. So each hardware components of the machine will do the on self test whether the components unable to power up their self. After that, all the RAM, process and other stuffs will do their own self-test. Then what happens is, if they pass the self-test, then the system will be switched on and immediately load the BIOS. So the BIOS in the sense basic input output system. This system will load our hardware related informations and the boot process. Also it verifies all the attached component and identifies device boot in order. Then BIOS will find the MBR in the hard disk. Once the hardware device is on, that is connected to the MBR. MBR means master boot record. It always located the first sector of the hard disk with the size of 512 bytes. This kept the sector information of the main bootloader. Our main bootloader is GRUB2, so GRUB2 has the file system. In that point our system doesn't have the file system. MBR helps to go inside a file system because MBR has the bootloader and it will tell the location of the file system in GRUB2. So the GRUB2 in the sense Grand Unified Bootloader. If we have multiple kernel images stored, here we can select which one is executed. If nothing is loaded in this flash screen, it's loaded default kernel image. Normally it's load the kernel into the memory and also extract the content of the initial RAM image and place them to the memory. Kernel. In this stage of the boot process, the kernel that was selected by GRUB first mount the root file system. The kernel then establishes a temporary file system using initial RAM disk until the real file system is mounted in it. In this point our system executes run level program. Finally, run level. Depending on which Linux distribution we have installed, we may be able to see different service getting started. That is the flow of Linux boot process. In upcoming slides I will explain one by one components separately. Okay, here I have already I have mentioned before, BIOS means basic input output system. After turning on the computer, the BIOS initializes the screen, keyboard and tests the main memory. Up to this stage, the machine does not access any mass storage media. Subsequently, the information about the current date, time and the most important peripherals are loaded from the CMOS value. When the first hard disk and its geometry are recognized, the system control passes from the BIOS to the bootloader. If the BIOS supports network booting, it is also possible to configure a boot server that provides the bootloader. Normally, BIOS performs the system integrity check. It searches, loads and executes the bootloader programs. Normally in disk drives, SD card readers, CD-ROM and hard drives. Once it verifies all the attached component and identifies device boot in loader, then BIOS will find the master boot record in the hard disk. When it comes to the master boot record, it always located at the first sector of the hard disk with the size of 512 bytes. In left side corner you can see the image of master boot record. The whole master boot record divided into 3 sections and allocated byte for it. Such as primary bootloader, which consists of 446 bytes, partition table consists of 64 bytes and magic number has 2 bytes. In 446 byte includes the information of where the boot image is located and all the information about the boot image. In the 65 byte includes partition table information about the system. In system, how many partition we have and which partition is located in the which sector. This kind of partition table details are stored in here, and also it will provide redirects to actual booting partition paths to find Grand Unified Bootloader as well. So finally the 2 byte of magic number which will verify the error. Also the first 512 bytes data set of the first hard is loaded into the main memory and the bootloader that resides at the beginning of this sector. The command executed by the bootloader determining the remaining part of the boot process. Therefore, the first 512 bytes on the first hard disk we can refer to as the master boot record. This kept the sector information of the main bootloader. Our main bootloader is GRUB2. So GRUB2 has the file system. In that point our system doesn't have the file system. MBR helped to go inside the file system because MBR has the bootloader and it will tell the location of the file system in GRUB2. That is the idea and process behind the master boot record. Now we will move to the next slide. It is about grub2. As I have mentioned about grub2 in the sense Grand Unified Bootloader, if we have multiple kernel images stored, here we can select which one is executed. If nothing is loaded in the flash screen, it's loaded default kernel image. Its function is to take over from BIOS at boot time, load itself, load the Linux kernel into the memory, and then turn over execution to the kernel. Grub supports multiple Linux kernel and allows the users to select between them at boot time using a menu. Once the kernel takes over, Grub has done its job and it's no longer needed. In the left side corner, you can see the interface of Grand Unified Bootloader. To pass system control the bootloader, both the kernel and the initial RAM-based file system into the memory, the content of the initram can be executed. So, can be used by the kernel directory. Initram's contain a small executable called init that handles the mounting of the real root file. If special hardware drivers are needed before the mass storage can be accessed, they must be in initrams. If the system does not have local hard disk, the initram must provide the root file system to the kernel. This can be done with the help of network block device like Internet, SCSI or SAN, but it is also possible to use network file system as the root device. That's all about the kernel functions. Now we will move to the next slide. When it comes to the initialization, this program performs all the action needed to mount the proper root file system, like providing kernel functionality for the needed file system and device drivers for mass storage controllers. This program handles the actual booting of the system through several different levels, providing different functionality. The program init is the process with process ID. It is responsible for initializing the system in the required way. So init is started directly by the kernel and resist signal, which normally kills process. All other programs are either started directly by init or by one of its child process. Okay, that's all about the boot process. Now we will move to the research paper. What the research paper is about? Actually, this paper is about boot multiple operating systems from ISO image using USB disk. To do that, they use Linux kernel based operating system. In the introduction section, I have pointed out more about Linux kernel based operating system and its functions. As well as to boot multiple ISO images, they have suggested USB pen drives as alternatives, moreover using CD or DVD. Okay, we will see what are the current problem. There are different operating system ISO files are available in the internet. Also, they have different new releases of the operating system as well. So most of the websites have free download facility. Since the evolution of the Linux kernel, a number of Linux based operating systems were developed. So in order to test the download operating system, which basically bootable ISO image file, we have to burn the ISO image to either CD or DVD depending on the size. But if the download operating system is not compatible with our computer hardware, so we may pick another operating system. So it is time wasting, and again we need to burn operating system to new CD or DVD. As well as currently available tool and procedures are limited to only one ISO image. Therefore, only one operating system can boot to CD or DVD drives at a time. So these are the problems currently user face. To solve these issues, they have proposed a solution. In next slide, I will discuss about the solution. Nowadays, there exists number of bootloaders such as Grand Unified Bootloader, that means Grub, SysLinux and so on. This paper they propose us on how to boot multiple ISO images from USB pen drive with the help of SysLinux and memdisk. They achieved booting of multiple ISO images from the same USB disks without extracting the ISO image to the USB. I will briefly discuss about SysLinux and memdisk in upcoming slide. So this is the basic idea. In the existing process, we can boot single operating system ISO image file to CD, DVD or USB pen drive at a time. But with the solution using USB pen drive, users can boot ISO images at the same time, multiple ISO images at the same time. So which means users can boot different multiple operating system to the USB drive at once. That is their proposed solution. Uh, Here I briefly explain what is grub2, syslinux and memdix. Grub2 I already discussed on the boot process, as well as syslinux and memdix I will discuss on upcoming sections and proposed methods. So in this time I am not going to explain these things. Now we will move to the next slide. It is about related works. When it comes to the related work, there are a number of procedures available on how to make bootable pen drives from ISO image, but they only have mentioned universal USB installer as an existing application. Actually, this software can be used to convert USB pen drive to boot from an ISO image. Not only this, here we can take RFUS and unit booting as bootable softwares. When it comes to creating a bootable USB drive in Windows, RFUS is the best one out of there. It is free, open source and easy to operate. Along with the creating a bootable USB for different kind of operating system, we can also use it flash BIOS, firmware and run low level utilities. Additionally, compared to other bootable software, this is the fastest in creating a bootable USB drive. Considering the unit booting, it is also free USB bootable software. It has collection of predefined distribution and system utilities. It is available for Windows, Mac OS and Linux, but with a separate file for each OS. The tool is specifically designed to create bootable live USB drives for Ubuntu, Fedora and other Linux distribution. Okay, that's all about related works. Now we will move to the proposed technologies. Actually, we have mentioned with the proposed method, they can only boot multiple ISO images without extracting the content with the help of grub2 or syslinux. For that, they provide two methods. One method was boot ISO images using grub, and second method was boot ISO images using syslinux. When it comes to the boot ISO image using grub, they have used grub version 2. Basically, grub is able to read from an ISO image stored in any of its accessible storage. To achieve this, grub loading a specifically made small image and passing it as RAM disk to the kernel. This can achieve by executing few commands and it's depending on the load. Here I have mentioned those commands and example. The behaviors of initial RAM disks depending on the command line option. Several distributors provide the image for this purpose, or it's integrated in their standard RAM disk and activated by special option. To install the grub to the USB disk, we need Linux based operating system. In this research, they use Fedora operating system, as well as to perform the installation they must work with command line. Also, they have mentioned at least 2 GB USB disk and 2 GB RAM required for boot the USB device and install the operating system to the machine. In left side corner you can see the image of grub where we have two menu entries that will boot two different ISO images, Ubuntu and Linux Mint operating system. Here they have mentioned all the steps of how to format your USB disk to use a single partition. Once complete the previous step, then we can install grub on the USB pen drive using below commands. Now they have created an important configuration file called grub.cfg in this directory. So this is the file grub is looking for the menu entries to display to the user. For example, below are the some statement of grub.cfg file. Set timeout. Specify the number of seconds to wait at the boot menu until the boot the default end is specified by the command set default. Menu entry statement specify the new menu entry is to be created. Loopback is a command in grub shell to create a loopback device from an ISO image. Linux in the next line specify the kernel files to load and the path to that kernel on the disk. Initial RAM which initialization the root disk which will pick the root disk of the operating system. Okay, that's all about first method of boot in ISO image file. We will move to the next slide. When it comes to the second method, it's about boot ISO images using syslinux. So syslinux is a bootloader for the Linux operating system which runs on MS-DOS or Windows FAT file system. When properly configured, syslinux can be used to eliminate the need for distribution of raw boot images. Installing syslinux will alter boot sector on the disk and copy a file name ldlinux.sys. So at the boot time, by default the kernel will be loaded from the image name Linux on the boot disk. This default can be changed to some other specific file. Here we are loading a specific file called memdisk. So I will explain little bit about memdisk. Actually memdisk is meant to allow booting legacy operating system. Also memdisk can boot floppy image, hard disk image and some ISO images as well. Actually I already explained memdisk about my previous slide. So memdisk is an auxiliary module used in conjunction with a bootloader that can load Linux kernel. So we need the disk image as well as the initial RAM disk. In order to use syslinux, we need to download the latest version from their website. Syslinux is available for all major platforms. As this is open source software, we can download the source code also. If we are using different platform than the available platforms, we can compile the source code and produce executable. So in this research paper, they are using Linux version of syslinux. First we need to format the pen drive. Here I list down all the steps of how to install syslinux to the pen drive. Once completed the syslinux installation, you can see inside the USB pen drive the syslinux.cfg file. Syslinux is a graphical bootloader. So default version menu.c32 specified that boot by default to version menu, which is graphical boot menu. Menu tile is, that means create a menu tile in the boot menu. Menu background is specified set of background images. This background image must be copied to the USB disk. Timeout will specify the syslinux to wait at the boot menu for 600 milliseconds. Label will specify the new entry label in the boot menu. Kernel memdisk specified that the kernel image is memdisk. Here we should load the memdisk as the kernel image. Init rd will specify the initial RAM disk image, which is ISO image to boot. With append command that can be passed three parameters such as ISO, RAW and mem. ISO is important, that will specifies the RAM disk is an ISO. Finally, mem will allocate specified size of RAM memory to load the contents of ISO image to RAM. That's all about ISO images using syslinux. Okay, now we will move to the next slide. Under result and comparison section, this table shows which operating system support which installation method. So as I mentioned before, they propose two methods, grub2 and syslinux. In this table they have taken 20 operating systems. So 13 operating systems are supported to boot using syslinux and only 7 operating systems are supported to boot using grub2 method. So you can see this graph chart, it clearly shows the success rate of syslinux is more when compared to grub2. That's the final result they came with. So now we will move to the final part of the research paper. It's about conclusion and future works. This article presents the possible ways of booting multiple ISO images from the USB disks with the help of USB drivers. So through this we are able to boot from multiple ISO images by installing either grub2 or syslinux on the USB disk and with little configuration. Also this is very useful for industry professionals, students or anybody who want to install more than one operating system or testing the operating system for their hardware compatibility. So as for enhancement, they have pointed out creating dynamic menu entry at the boot menu with the help of scrolling. These are the references they have used, and that's all. Thank you.